performing today were selected by their peers to represent the 8th grade. I'll be conducting brief interviews with each storyteller before they share their story. We are so excited for you to hear their stories. Please welcome Rachel as our first guest. Hello, Rachel. So I have a few questions for you. They might not be related to this at all whatsoever. So, okay. What is your favorite food and why?
I like cotton candy because it's like cool to play with and it tastes good. Yeah. I like chocolate pie and ice cream.
Okay, that's it. And what is your story about?
My story is about my second home.
Well, give a nice round of applause for Rachel.
Okay, so the first place that I ever remember living in was Fargo, North Dakota. And Fargo is really nothing like Boston at all. I mean, there aren't really bowling alleys or movie theaters or even really a lot of malls to go to. Everyone up until the age of 14 has their birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese's. I remember one time we had a field trip to Krispy Kreme's to like get donuts. That was our field trip. But when I was younger, my favorite time of the year was Halloween. And I was really excited for Halloween, and me and my brother were going to go trick-or-treating together, and we were going to have a lot of fun. So we went to the mall, not to the mall, to Target, we didn't really have a mall. We went to Target to pick out our costumes. And my brother picked out a really, really cool Harry Potter costume. And one of the reasons why my brother is like really like amazing is because if he wants to, he can look a lot like Harry Potter. So I was so happy for him because me and my brother were obsessed with Harry Potter. Like every movie or like book we ever talked about or Legos that we played with had something to do with Harry Potter. And that was like our sole purpose in life was to be So he picked out a nice Gryffindor robe and the glasses and the wand and the broom. And I picked out a witch costume. And we were both really excited and like satisfied. We were ready to go trick-or-treating next week. And we were really happy. And then the next day, my brother went to a play date with his friend Alex. And they were, I think, 7 at the time, so it was acceptable for them to call them play date. So me and my mom were in the car, we were driving to pick him up, and I was eating these Spider-Man shortbread cookies, which is like they were cookies with Spider-Man's face on them. And my mom went inside to get my brother from Alice's house. And when she came back out, my brother was really excited, and I was like, why are you so excited? And he was like, I'm so happy. Alex invited me to a Halloween party. There's going to be a costume contest. And I was like, what? You ruined my Halloween. We are going to go together. And I was so upset, and I started like crying and sobbing. And to make it worse, he was like, yeah, and Alex is going as Harry Potter too. And this was the worst thing that had ever happened. I mean, nothing they could do can make me feel better. And so we went home, and I guess I cried myself to sleep. And but by the time that I was really dramatic. But by the time Halloween had come around, I was like kind of happier, and I was gonna go with my other like best friend. We were gonna have a good time. So we went out trick-or-treating, which is really fun because North Dakotaers are like super generous with candy. So we got a lot of candy, and I was really happy, and I was really excited. And we got back home, and we were having a great time. And then my brother came back home. And I was like, oh. And then it was like, we won the costume contest, and they got like these cool glow sticks and like pumpkin jack-o'-lantern bags or something. And I was like so mad and jealous. But then he was like, here, you can have my glow stick. I hope you had a good Halloween. And it was just really nice that his experience of not having a Halloween with me meant as much to him as it did to me.
Thank you, Rachel. Rachel. Our next guest today is Owen. So Owen, no relation to our last interview, but what is your favorite food and why?
I also like cotton candy because it's fluffy and delicious.
And what is your story about?
My story is about the time when I got a black eye.
Well, take it away, please.
So to most people, December 31st is like normal New Year's Eve, and the ball is one of the big cool things that comes down to like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's 2000, whatever the year was. A couple of years ago, this day, my family, is kind of special because it's also my brother's birthday. And so we were going out for a special birthday dinner, and he was maybe 12 or 13 years old, maybe 10. And so we were all getting ready, and I went to get showered because we were going to a fancy restaurant, and I needed to wear like a polo shirt and nice clothes. And so I got out of the shower, and my brother comes bursting in. He opens the door, and the shower's in a room, it's a very small room, and the door pulls into the room, hits me right in the face, like this. I'm like, bam, and I fall back, and I hit the wall. I slide down behind the door. I can hear him shouting, Mom, Mom. And my mom comes rushing up the stairs. I can hear the stairs. She runs into the bathroom, and she's like, Owen, here, use this ice. She gives him one of those shapeable ice packs, and go get dressed. I go up to my room and start getting dressed, and my mom comes in, and she's like, Owen, you're still going to have to go to dinner because your grandparents are here, and we definitely can't mess up the reservation if your grandparents are here. And I was like, okay, fine. So I put on my little red polo shirt, and I get ready to go, and I look into the bathroom, and I have a huge black eye, which is like starting to cover up my face, about this big. And so we head out to the restaurant. And at the restaurant, it was a fancy place in Newton. I don't remember exactly what restaurant it was. And so everyone was going around the table. My grandma was like, oh, have this salad. And my grandpa was like, oh, this steak, or whatever there were, kind of thing, adult foods. They finally came to me. I looked up at the waiter, my little low self in the chair, with my black eyes, and I just, like, it was so awkward. And so that's how I learned that the show must go on, even if you were black eye.
Thank you, Owen. Now our next guest today is Cooper. So, what is your favorite and why?
I really like cotton candy. Blue, it's fluffy, it just dissolves in you. I really like it.
That's a unique answer. And what is your story?
My story is about the first time I went up Zara.
Go ahead, ladies and So, when I was younger, like much younger, like 10 years ago younger, my family went to Disney World, and all my kindergarten friends were talking about Thunder Mountain, and I had never gone to Disney World before, so I was really excited to go on Thunder Mountain. So we woke up the first morning we were there, and I wanted to be the first one in line, first one to go on the first run of the day, so I was running with my dad to get on, so we'd be the first ones in line. My mom was off with Charlie, like, he was a baby, so she was there. So we get on Thunder Mountain, we're like the first ones on the coaster, we're sitting very front, I'm super pumped, right? And like, for those of you that don't know, Thunder Mountain is a kiddie roller coaster at Disney World. My dad, he's like, this is gonna be fine. He's relaxing. I'm super pumped. We're going up the thing. It's going like, and my heart just drops. I get really scared, and I'm squirming, I'm shaking, I'm crying. It's all before we even go down, and then we just go down, and it's like a scream fest. I'm like, hugging my dad, like, I love you, Dad, we're gonna die. We have this picture, they take a picture at the end. It's like me, like tears streaming down. He's just kind of like rolling his eyes. So like ever since then, like I was just afraid of roller coasters. Like didn't like them when I was 5. I'm not gonna like them now. Then my little cousin Max comes to town. And when I say little cousin Max, I mean little cousin Max. He's Charlie's age, but he's in like the 10th percentile for me. So, and he's really
he lives in Washington, D.C., and there aren't many roller coasters around Washington, D.C., so he's never gone on one before when he comes this summer, or when he came last summer. So he wanted to go to Six Flags. You know, Charlie really wants to go to Six Flags too. My mom really wants to go to Six Flags too. And my dad had an excuse like golf or something. So I'm like, fine, I'll go to Six Flags with you. It'll be fun. I'll sit and go in the teacups while you guys go in the big boat. And you know, I'm sitting in the front seat. Charlie and Max are in the back. I'm looking at this kid, and he wants to go on with Tinsel, Bizarro, Batman. And so I'm thinking to myself, if this little kid can do it, I think I can do it. I mean, it's been 10 years. And so, you know, we get to Six Flags. It's pretty far away, and we get there. It's pretty early in the morning. It's like 10 or 11, and we get these flash passes. You don't even have to wait in line. Like, you just cut right through the line. And the first thing we want to do is go in Bizarro. Well, you know, why not? You know, it's been 10 years. I think I'll go on it. It's only 2 minutes of my life. Why not? So we get there, and Max is barely tall enough to go on the ride. Like, he's on his tippy toes, like he's spiking his hair up, and the lady, she obviously doesn't like her job. She's like, fine, you can go on this off. Might not have been a good idea. But you know, Max and I, we were sitting in the front row. You know, history tends to repeat itself. And Bizarro is very intense. You go really high up and then you fall really far down. So, you know, we're going up and it's going and I'm looking down like, whoa, we're really high up. Right when I think we're about to get to the top, like, I look over to the side and we just look halfway. It's crazy. You know, it's still going like I'm looking at Max like he's just like, he has no idea what's about to happen. Finally we get to the top and like, because we're in front, the back is still being lifted up, so we're kind of suspended over. We're looking down. And I have bad eyes, so I don't know how far we fall. Max does, however, and he's suddenly like grabbing onto everything he can, like he's squirming around in his seat. And then finally we just drop. And, you know, like we're screaming, like we're going so far, we're going so fast, we're going so far down. Max is holding on to the bar for all he can, like I'm holding on to Max. However high we went up, we go farther down. This thing is underground, and it's not over yet. It goes up, and then it turns around, and then it goes down again, and then it goes up, and it does the corkscrew thing, and finally, it's over. It's been like 2 minutes. I'm stumbling around, like holding onto the railings, walking away, like Max is like, that was awesome, let's do it again. Well, I learned that day that sometimes you just got to reassess your fears as you come of age.
Our next guest today is Caroline. So, a different answer probably this time, but what is your favorite song?
Well, you know, I was really hard about that as I was thinking, and I was, you know, cotton candy. I just I don't really have a reason. I really enjoy it.
What is your story about?
My story is about a really scary experience I had.
All right, well, everyone, please give a round of applause.
So it was last summer in about mid-August, and mid-August around where my dad lives is like the perfect time of summer. It's, you know, perfectly warm. It's not like 105, but I mean it's a good temperature, and the nights especially are like really nice. They're not obviously like the hottest they could be, but they're not like tonight, which is like 30 degrees. So it's a really nice time where a bunch of people in my neighborhood like to, you know, hang out outside at the nighttime. So I had invited my friend Caroline G down for a couple nights at my dad's house. And so one night we decided that it was about 9, we were really tired, I mean, because we like to, you know, stay up late or something. And we weren't exactly really tired, so we decided to go down to the beach. And for those of you who don't know Green Harbor, where my dad lives, which is probably all of you, it's about 10 seconds from the beach. I mean, you walk across the street and you're on sand. So we decided to walk down there, and we started walking down, and we decided to go on this huge lifeguard chair. It's like 20 feet tall. I'm really bad with heights, but I think it's like 20 feet tall. And so we're climbing up. We sit up there for, I don't know, half an hour. Kind of lost track of time. But I look at my watch and it's about 10:30ish, and we really should get back. It's starting to get really pitch black, and my dad's probably gonna go to bed. So we start climbing down, and they're like really big rungs. So I'm like taking my time going down. Caroline, she says, wouldn't it be really scary if like we turned around and someone was right there? And I mean, that's a scary thought, especially since it's pitch black and we can't really see anything. We don't have lights. It was kind of terrifying. But just thinking about that was scary enough. So we kept walking. And so for those of you who have ever walked on sand, it's really hard to walk through sand. I mean, it's like quicksand. But running through sand is like even harder. Because, I mean, you can't go anywhere. You're, like, falling over yourself, and it's a disaster. So we started to hear these footsteps behind us, and we just screamed our heads off and started, trying to run through sand. And I obviously was not as in shape as Caroline G. So Caroline G is, like, running as fast as she can. And I'm like, she's over there, and I'm over here, like, no, wait for me. And I'm, like, falling over myself. But the footsteps eventually stopped. So, phew, that was scary. Let's keep going. But it feels like an eternity to get to the road because you're running through sand. And then we started hearing these footsteps again, but they're running this time. Faster, they're coming towards us. Oh my gosh. So we started sprinting again, and they're running through this patch of thorns. I'm like, ow, wearing flip-flops, like falling over the place. And Caroline G drops her flip-flop, and everything at that time was like a little more intense than it needs to be. Because like flip-flop, dropping, not that big of a deal. But I mean, it's midnight, it's like at night, and it's scary and all that. So I'm like, Caroline, your flip-flop! She's like, there is no time for flip-flops, we must run! And running towards, and we finally get to the road and we stop. And I'm like, that was scary. And I'm like falling over the place, panting, but we decided to walk back to the house, and a couple scary dreams later, we fall asleep and we wake up the next morning and we're walking down to the beach and to find Caroline G's flip-flop, and we find it. But right next to where her flip-flop was a dead rabbit. And I'm like, hey, that was weird. And so, we never quite figured out, first of all, why there was a dead rabbit, and second of all, what was chasing us. But it certainly was a memory that we will not forget.
Up next is Mia. What is your favorite food?
Gee, I mean, I've heard some great food ideas coming out of the other people, and I have to agree, cotton candy. It makes a great Santa Claus beard.
What is your story?
My story is about the time I lost my sister.
Okay, well, a round of applause for Mia Cuthbert.
Okay, so it was summer. I was probably about 6 or 7 years old. It was a really hot day, about late August in the afternoon, and I was walking with my family, my sister Tony, and my 2 parents. So we're in Boston, the North End, and there's an Italian street here. We're walking along the roads with all these fancy street vendors, jewelry, clothing, different fruits, and I can smell like the aromas coming out of all the restaurants, like coffee and pasta. And I'm looking at the jewelry with my sister because we both love earrings. And so I'm looking and I'm like, oh, I love that, that's so cool. And she's like, oh, I want that too. And I'm like, I saw it first. She's like, I don't care, I like that more than you. So then I start crying, like, Tony, that's not nice, I saw it first. And then I hit her on the arm. And then she hits me back, because that's what she does, but it's like 10 times harder. And then I start crying, Tony, that's so mean. Why would you do that to me? So I go running to my parents. I'm like, Mom, Dad, Tony's being mean to me. She hit me. And so my parents are like, okay, calm down. It's going to be okay. Like, we'll talk to Tony. So we're looking for Tony, and she's nowhere to be found. So we're looking behind street vendors, because she might have been hiding, and through alleyways. And we're calling, Tony, Tony, but there's no response. So my mom starts getting really frantic. And she's like, oh my God, what are we going to do? She's like, okay, we're going to call the police. So she dials 911 on her phone, do, 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 do. And she's waiting. Hello, the police say, and my mom's like, oh my God, I can't find my daughter anywhere. And so the police is like, okay, calm down, ma'am. And they're like, how long has she been missing for? Oh my God, she's been missing for like 10 minutes, I can't find her. And my mom was like freaking out. So the police is like, okay, we're gonna come by in our car. So just wait when you see us. Okay, my mom says. So they come by, we see the lights flashing, there's this big black car. My mom's like, oh yeah, I see you. So the police come over, and my mom goes over and shows them a picture of my sister. And the police are like, okay, we'll do our best to find her. And we'll get her home. So the police are off, and we're just waiting there, we're standing. And I'm just like, oh God, where's Tony? And I'm like, she just always wanders off like that. So then my mom gets a phone call, and she doesn't recognize the number. She's like, who's this? And so she picks it up, she's like, hello? And this one says, I've got your daughter. And so my mom is like, okay, where are you? And so the woman tells her like that there's this cafe, I'm not really sure what the name was. And so we go over there, and I see Tony eating gelato with some strange lady. So I'm wondering like, who is this lady, and what kind of gelato is that? But at the same time, I'm kind of relieved because although Tony and I fight, I still really love her, like sisterly love.
Next up is Isaac. So, how are you? Okay. So, what is your favorite?
Really, you know, it's like blue and sweet.
Music art?
Yes.
Well, so, what is your story about?
My story is about the time I got left in school.
Everyone give a round of applause for Isaac.
The story takes place at the beginning of my 8th grade year. Actually, the beginning of the winter. Basketball had just started. My teachers were starting to like me a little more, which was always good. This was one afternoon after sports. I was in the forum. I'm not sure if the 5th, 6th, or 7th graders know. I know the 8th graders do. That I'm always in the forum, lying on the couches. I never go home. But today was a little different from most days because my brother had basketball practice, so he was off somewhere, you know, in Newton or Needham or wherever basketball happens. And my mom had a late faculty meeting, so I usually go to the Spanish room, but on this occasion I was subjugated to the forum, which is nasty. You guys have been in there. So I was just doing homework. Every once in a while I would get up and like noodle on the piano. I don't play piano, so I just press some notes and hope it sounded good. Usually didn't. Then I heard a sound. I was really confused. It sounded like. I was like, what could that sound be? It sounds like a vacuum, but it was. The cleaning crew was here. But how could they be here? It's 8:30. How did that happen? Okay, so then I checked my phone to see if I'd gotten any calls or texts or some validation that I wasn't alone, that my parents like loved me or something. There wasn't. So I called my mom and I said, hey, where are you?
Oh my God, I gotta do this!
So then I said, yeah, I'm still at school. I'm a little hungry. You're hungry all the time. I'm coming. While this was happening, they were actually like vacuuming around me. At one point, I had to lift my legs under me. So after a lot of arguing between parents, seeing whose fault it was, I guess they eventually figured that out. Once they figured that out, someone picked me up. And so that's how I learned the hard way that parents are not to be trusted.
don't have it very often, and it's just so delicious. It's pure sugar, and since we are children,
That's,
I don't know if you know about cotton candy.
I do, apparently. So what is your story about?
My story is about how siblings and various German meats are terrible.
Well, everyone give her a hand.
Okay, so before I start, I just want to take a quick poll. How many people like sausage? Like, really, that many people? You guys stop. Come on, really? Alright, fine. Well, sausage is terrible. And I'm going to tell you why. Sausage is, thank you. See, Jessica Bargaming right there. She's cool, okay? Everyone, take a lesson from her. Sausage is terrible. So, when I was maybe 6 or 7, my mom had a conference in Germany. Something to do with robots. There were little tiny robot dogs that played soccer. I don't know much else. But after the conference was over, she and her colleague Greg went out to get some dinner, celebrate. The conference was over, no more work. And so Greg, I don't really remember much about him other than the fact that he was really tall. And I was like 6 or 7, so I was like this tall, he was that tall. There was too much distance to cover, so I never talked to him. Didn't know anything. But we go to this kind of bar restaurant, and it's one of those places that has that really sour smell, kind of like what a kid would imagine beer tastes like. And it smells really sour and gross, but... And so we get there, and the bar stools. Now, bar stools are usually pretty tall, but I was this tall, and I'm probably exaggerating a little bit, but they felt like this tall. Like, Mr. T, how tall are you?
6'3".
Mr. Iris, how tall are you?
6'3".
I'm gonna say it was kind of like, to me, it would be like sitting on Mr. T's head. Maybe that's a little too tall, but that's how it felt. And so it took me about 30, 45 seconds to climb to the top of the chairs, which doesn't sound that long, but if you think about it, it's time to sit on a chair, which, take you all of 1.5 seconds. But, my parents, or my mom and her colleague Greg, they go out talking about computers and coding and B-trees. I don't know what B-trees are still. But they go out talking all these fancy computer terms. It was kind of like foreign language. But my brother, being 2 years older than me and super annoying, decides that it is his duty to patronize me. So, he's sitting over there, and he's looking over at me, and he's like head taller than me. Now, Tegan, don't play in your chair. And so I, being 2 years younger and really annoying, look at him, and he's like, don't tell me what to do. And I proceed to play in my chair. And I'm bored out of my mind, and they're a little unstable, but I figure, this won't happen to me, I'm fine. So I start back and forth in my chair, and of course, what else would happen? It falls over. Which, wasn't that big a deal. It didn't make much noise when it hit the ground. No one really noticed. Until it, look over at my hand, and it's pinned under the chair, not a big deal. Then I realize I can't get it out, and then it starts to hurt. And it's like, oh my god, my hand is about twice the size that it should be. And so it's a nice restaurant, don't want to start getting everyone's attention, but I'm sick, so I start screaming. Suddenly I'm a liability to these nice restaurant owners, so they call the paramedics. And I feel I should remind you that we are in Germany. The paramedics are German. They speak German. They don't speak English, which turned out to be a problem. Because